There are others who are excited about College Station High School heading to Austin for the state championship semifinals today. A 4 o'clock first pitch against Lubbock Cooper. And we got a backstory that I think you're really going to enjoy. And when A&M clashes with community, that's the perfect time to get community involved on this radio program, and I'm excited about it. Joining me right now in studio and joining us for the next 30 minutes for your listening pleasure. We're excited about this. Dr. Gregg Bennett, a big friend of Texags, a professor on the A&M campus, and the founder and creator of the College Station 12 Baseball Academy. Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having us, Gabe.
This is probably your first on-air hit with us, is it not?
It is. It sure is. Been here a lot, though.
Yeah, you have. You've done a lot of stuff with us, and we appreciate that. And joining us as well, the man in the middle to my immediate left, Justin Moore. You know him as a former A&M great pitcher. You know him as the he had a cup of coffee at second base, too, which is a story for a later day.
That's right.
For one half inning, the Aggie second baseman. Mm-hmm. And also the director, the associate AD for football on the Texas A&M campus, and the first coach, along with Khalid Baluli, the first coach of the College Station 12 Baseball Academy. College Station High School, again, state championship semifinals. It starts today. Lubbock Cooper's the opponent. Guys, how excited are you for this group? And I should say, for a backstory, there are 11 or 12 guys on this roster, and every last one of them are members of the College Station 12s. And most of these guys were charter members back in 2006 when you two guys got the ball rolling on this thing. How excited are you guys for today and what might come this weekend?
Well, we're real excited, obviously, and they've all been in the program at one point in time. And of course, it's really neat to see this come to fruition. And, the kids really are very excited to represent College Station and the community. And it's just a neat thing to watch this happen and play out the way it's played, Gabe. It's been really cool.
And, Greg, your son's on the team, right? So you've been a part. You've probably been there. And, Justin, I don't know if you can go to games because you're actually on the football staff, and they are recruitable athletes,
That's right.
student athletes. So, but you've seen it all, right? You've seen this whole thing play out. Greg, we'll continue with you here for a minute, but going back almost 10 years with these guys, 8 years or so, and you've seen it play out, and you've been to all these games. What's this run been like for this group who's been together and played baseball together for so long?
Yeah, Gabe, it's neat because they represent kind of, how if you do the community aspect of baseball and youth sports, it really works out well. And, they've had the 12 stuff, obviously, but they've also been exposed to Little League. And they had a really nice run when they were 10 years old in Little League and did a good job there. So we've had a lot of community people that have been responsible for this. And now, of course, Scott and Chris are two fantastic. Their whole staff is fantastic. They've done a great job in doing that. But it's been neat because it's just, we're kind of a small town, that type of deal. It's a brand new school. They don't have any seniors. And so really it's just been a neat thing to see a community aspect play out in this manner. And we're just really pleased with it. But I got to tell you, it's difficult for me to watch it. Really, you mentioned Matthew, and we built the 12. Really, Matthew was the first 12 player, and we built the team. Justin will probably talk about that around Matthew, or for Matthew rather. But it's hard for me to watch it honestly because of the aspect of being a father,
right?
But then having the coaching element that's involved, and just I just sit there and don't say anything, and it's just really, really hard to watch them play, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's a relief when they play and the game's over. It's this huge relief, but it's also a lot of fun, which we miss a lot in sports. It's fun to watch how competitive these kids are. I mean, it is really amazing to see them just really embrace the notion. They don't care that they don't have seniors. They don't care about the rankings and any of that stuff. They compete.
Justin, give us your perspective as someone who's watching it, following every step of the way, and it means a lot to you too because you've known these kids for 7-8 years.
Sure, and I was fortunate to kind of get in on the front end with Dr. Bennett and was able to spend a couple years with him here while I was in graduate school and then working for Dr. Thornton in the athletic department.
Yep.
And even when I left and went to Houston, I would stay in close contact with Dr. Bennett and KB and just always checking on them. I'd go, periodically I might sneak out to Baseball USA and catch a game or two. But, it was just a special group of kids and their parents. We became really close. And so it's been fun for me to follow them. I knew they were going to be really successful. And now to see them, this far grown up is really neat.
693-1150 is our phone number. If you've got a question for Dr. Bennett or Justin Moore about this College Station High School baseball team, the Cougars, you can call us up at 693-1150 on the Mac Resource Computers hotline, or you can text in via the Commerce National Bank inbox with your questions. We'll try to rifle them off at the end of the program. But pile us up. It's at 979-229-1939. Gregg, if you'll start with just take us through the backstory. You mentioned it of how the 12 Academy was formed, how you compiled this group of talent, and then, Justin, if you'll follow that with how you got involved with the College Station 12 Academy.
Sure.
Well, when we moved here, interestingly enough, I'd been a college baseball coach for, 6 or 7 years and really enjoyed that. And then we had Matthew, and I did it for 1 year, and just the recruiting and being on the field, 56 games in the spring. I had to make a decision. Was I going to be a professor or a coach? And it just ends up that it's best that I was going to be a professor for my family. And anyway, we had Matthew, and I have this buddy that used to work for David Stern, and he used to tease me all the time, "You're going to coach your kid," because he did the same thing. I said, "I'm never coaching my kids because I don't want to get involved in all that stuff." And now you have what you have. But when I got here to College Station, he actually had Robert Harp, who has his own screen printing business in town. He actually was on his Little League team. And I sat there and watched it. Robert was fantastic with them, and he was loving on them. But Sherry kept noticing me wanting to go out onto the field and help and do all that. Of course, I never said a word. But anyway, I just watched. And so I decided, and I went to Matthew, "Do you really want to play this stuff? And do you enjoy doing it? Do you want to do it later?" And then I felt sort of a sense of obligation. I need to build a team for him. And at the point in time, there wasn't really a whole lot of travel baseball, certainly in the youth market here. And so I just went and built a team, and Justin can tell you a little bit. I coached his Little League team the next spring, and I would walk up to parents after the game. I'd say, "Hey, I want your kid to come and play for this team we're putting together." And of course, back then that was real unusual. And
so you use Little League as a scouting opportunity.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we built this. These kids were also, the core group of these young men were selected then based on just watching them. And of course, there's an advantageous part to that because I'd coach college kids, and it's pretty easy to look at talent and see who can do certain things and that type of deal. But we built a team, and Matthew was underage, as William Vaughn was too. But we had Matthew and William Vaughn as the two 9-year-olds. The other kids were all 10, and we went and played the first tournament. The kids won the tournament, the first one, and then we took the whole summer off. We had Peyton Burson. We had a lot of kids, at that age.
And William Vaughn's not the son of Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn, but the son
of
Bill Vaughn, who's helping construct Kyle Field.
That's correct.
I would say helping. He's half leading the charge over there.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And Justin, how did you get involved?
Sure. So I had come back to graduate school, was taking a sports marketing class, and met this professor who was a little bit different, and it was fun. I enjoyed his class, and so he found out my background, and so he kind of recruited me to help coach, and it was really easy for me. It'd been a few years since I had finished playing, and I missed just being around the game, and so it was a great opportunity to get back and help the kids, and also make a little bit of money on the side while I was a poor graduate student.
Oh, you paid these guys?
Yeah, we pay them. We sure do.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I met a lot of these kids and was given individual private lessons, and so really got to know them really well. But it was fun. He asked me if I'd help. I said I'd love to. So really, that's how it started.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Did you guys get the sense, Justin, we'll start with you as a guy who played here at A&M, and here are these guys in College Station, and KB, and you were working with them, and then I'd like for you to follow up too, Dr. Bennett, but did you get the sense early that this could be a special group, that if they stayed together, could do some great things at the high school level, but as individuals could play at the level where you played, being a great pitcher here at A&M?
Sure. I think it was really early. Dr. Bennett and I were at a practice, and I remember just saying, this is a really special group of kids. You could see the talent. You could see there were some kids that had really obvious talent.
Yeah.
But like Dr. Bennett said, how competitive they were at an early age. They just loved playing with each other. It was just a really neat group. And then on top of that, they had great parents. And the parents were very supportive and understanding. They trusted us a lot because they knew our background. So I think it all worked together. I knew whatever high school, if they all ended up together, they would be really, really good. So it's neat to see that kind of come to fruition. Yeah. And then absolutely, there was a handful of guys you could see early that this guy's going to be a big leaguer or he's going to have a chance to play, at the college level.
Dr. Bennett? You agree?
Yeah. I think there's no doubt that that's the case. But I also think, and I remember a lot of conversations with Rusty about the kids and how special they were, and Rusty was 100% accurate on that. But one of the things that I think we, and KB would probably second this as well, is when we first started, they struggled. They really struggled. We played AA baseball, which is the lowest form of travel baseball that you could have, and they would show signs of brilliance. They'd play well on Saturday in a couple pool play games, and then we'd play a team they should beat on Sunday, and they wouldn't do it. So what happened was it was just an immaturity and not knowing the game. We had great athletes who were obviously going to be great baseball players one day, but when we first started, they didn't really. There were times where we were like, wow, that's interesting, that we would do that. So, and that was youth. But we definitely saw there's a competitiveness to this, and a lot of that's the parents. You have a set of parents who are competitive themselves, and some of the backgrounds with these folks have, it shows why these kids are competitive the way they are.
Yeah, and they continue to get better and better as individuals, but play together. Now, help me out on this. I'm a little ignorant on this front, but how often or how rare is it that a travel squad can stick together like they've stuck together and play and that be the high school team? Because a lot of times, I'm going to play for, let's take basketball, AAU. I'm going to play for Team Texas. I'm going to play for the Titans. I'm going to play for Houston Hoops. And they're all spread out, and they're not getting better as a high school group, but that's kind of one helping the other, and it's working like a circle, right? The high school team is benefiting from the 12s playing together all year, and the 12s are benefiting because they don't break up and go to different high schools, right? But how rare is that?
Well, I think it's really rare, and I also think it's important to note that the 12 has kids at Consol. They have them all over.
Right.
We have them Montgomery kids. We have Brenham kids. And so those kids play together. That just helps everybody out. But this particular core group has been together. And by the way, since it's our original team,
right?
It's kind of a positive case study to what Kevin's doing and how he's built the program and that type of deal. But yeah, it's real
You're talking
rare.
about Kevin Hodge, who took over for these guys.
Yeah, and
right.
He runs the academy and does that. I have another job, so it's kind of important I do that one. But anyway, so yeah, at Barb High School, they went to the Little League World Series a few years ago as a group. The El Paso Eagle Pass, those kids matriculated up and played together in high school. But it's really, really rare for you to have a core set of kids like this that play together all the way through. So
we're going to talk about some of the characters, some of the kids. Basically breaking down this lineup a little bit. And if you guys can, Justin, you don't know all these guys, but you know enough of them, so speak on the ones you do know. And Dr. Bennett, I'd like for you to give us a nugget about every single one of these guys.
Okay.
That's what's so great about the community. It's like getting your name in the newspaper. We're going to get their name in the audio newspaper when we come back. We're here with Dr. Gregg Bennett and Justin Moore talking about this College Station High School team, and we do have a phone call. Guy called in through the break on the Mac Resource Computers hotline. Let's go out to line one, and Jack. Good morning, Jack.
Hey, Justin. Used to sit next to Scott Clendon at all the Aggie baseball games, and I know y'all were good friends. And when you came back from Japan, didn't you start working with this academy at that time?
Appreciate it, Jack.
Yeah, Jack, I think you've got me confused with Trey Moore, which happens a lot around town. But Trey was a great player here, part of the '93 team that went to the College World Series and played professionally for a while and played
two-way guy like you.
Yeah, played in Japan. That's right. The sad thing is I signed as a two-way guy, and I managed to get was half an inning my fifth year at second base, which I had never played in my life. Yep. But so Trey played in Japan, and then Trey came back and started opened a kind of an indoor hitting facility. He did some baseball work, but I don't believe he ever worked with the 12.
No, and the team that he did work with his son, though, those kids were basically the core of the Consol group that went 2 years ago. Really similar type of story.
Ford Moore, and I think he might be working a little bit as a volunteer or a coach with Allen
He coaches
Academy?
Allen now, yes.
Okay. Is he the coach? Is he the head coach?
I think so.
Okay. Very cool. All right, 693-1150 on the phones. You can text in at 229-1939. Let's have some fun. We'll run down the roster a little bit. And just a quick note here and there, and Justin, just chime in. I'll start with Dr. Bennett on all these, and then chime in if you've got an extra thing to talk about. But number one on your list was the shortstop, Walker Davis. Dr. Bennett.
Yeah, he's really the captain and the glue of this team. And it's really hard to say enough good things about him. He's an incredible kid, and really, I think the thing that he reminds me of, I told a scout and an agent the other day that he's David Eckstein, basically, and he's been overlooked a lot. But what's going to happen is whoever gives that young man some money and signs him, he is going to beat out their big money guys. I'm just telling you, if he's given a chance, he'll remind. I mean, Eckstein walked on at Florida, was a small guy, ended up being all SEC as a walk-on, and of course he played in the big leagues for a long time. And I think Walker's exactly like that. If he's given a chance, he's going to beat somebody out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got a great quick Walker story. This is what I think of when I think of Walker. It's our first year, so we're 10, right? 10. We're playing, in a tournament. Ryan Johnson, who at the time was the biggest, most physically gifted kid still,
Right.
He's playing catcher. In between innings, ball's in, coming down. I'm leaning on the first base dugout fence. Ryan throws the ball down. Walker's catching it at second. It short hops and hits Walker square in the face, and I mean loud. And the other team's coach starts running from his dugout to the field. And I know Walker, and I stay on the fence. I don't even move. Walker kind of puts his hand on his face, shakes his head, grabs the ball, throws it to the pitcher, walks back to shortstop. He's like, let's go. He was 10, and he didn't say a word about it. The rest of the game, he didn't come in the dugout and say my fate. Never mentioned it the rest of the game.
Wow. That's a tough son of a gun.
That's him.
You mentioned Ryan Johnson. Take us through Ryan Johnson. Committed to TCU. I'm not sure if he's going to make it there. What a high-level prospect this kid is.
Well, yeah, and he very well could be the best prospect in the junior class in the country, not just a local type of deal. He very well could be. The skills are there, the talent's there, all of those types of things. Tremendous family, by the way. Both Aggies' dad's a core guy. But he did sign with TCU, or excuse me, verbal to TCU. I really think there's a chance he plays at TCU, honestly. And, just because he wants to get the schooling in, and plus it gives him a few more years to mature and do that type of thing. But yeah, he's ridiculously talented, and it's kind of funny. Maybe J-Mo has some stories on him when he was 10, because he doesn't look like at 10 he didn't have the same look. Now we knew he was really talented and physically imposing, but he didn't, like when he walks to the plate now, it's ridiculous. I mean, the people there watching, baseball people there watching, are just like, wow, just walking to the plate is kind of a neat thing to see. But yeah, he's a great prospect, great kid, great family.
Yeah, I just remember, the first thing I remember about him is how beautiful of a swing he had from day one. I mean, it was just like, okay, don't screw this up.
That's right.
Just get him to the field. And I got to give KB a lot of credit here too, because KB spent a lot of time with Ryan, and they did lessons, every week for a lot of years. And KB really had a big part in kind of molding Ryan to what he is now, both just on the field, but also away from the field, and how he handled adversity and failures and things like that. So it's neat to see Ryan, how much he's grown up from when he was 10 to now, watching, being able to see him and how mature he is and how he handles things. So I think that's the biggest thing that stands out to me.
Yeah, and I think KB, that's important to note, because the talent's been there with Ryan since we've known him, and we could see that early on. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But really, KB taught him to be a pro. And by that, I mean, when he, as you know, Gabe, it's a game of failure. It's constant. And his responses to that failure are now much more mature than they were, because when we first started with him, his dad will tell you the same thing. He just didn't respond to that failure very well. And now, I mean, there's glimpses every now and then of still having some of that immaturity towards that, but it's very, very rare. Yeah. And so, what we've done in his life, I think the baseball stuff is taking care of itself. But I think KB invested in his life in a very powerful way to teach him how to be a pro, a man, and how to handle those types of things. And so I think that's a lot of good positive thing for him and his family.
I think since we have 3 minutes, I want to get all the names in. I'm going to talk about the position players, mention them, and then wherever you guys want to go with a quick-hitting thought or two about that group. Second baseman is Jackson Grisham. The catcher is Baylor Rowlett. We like him. I know we don't Baylor, but we like this Baylor. The first baseman's Matthew Bennett. I heard he could play a little bit. Jake, help me out with the third base name. Georgitis. Jake Georgitis is the third baseman. Your left fielder, Cole Whittlesey. And then your outfield DH, Cody Staub.
Yes. Very physical with Jackson Grisham.
Yeah.
He's being looked at and talked to by several people, Texas Sam, hopefully maybe even A&M. let's see, Baylor going to Oklahoma State. Very physical. Ball jumps off his bat. I think I'd describe him as a lab puppy because that's how he plays. He's a happy player, very energetic, that type of thing. I won't talk about Matthew. Georgiada's been very hot lately at the plate and played great defense in the playoffs. And then Cole Whittlesey's our quarterback, extremely athletic. Cody Staub is a verbal to Rice. And how about that? Your 9-hole hitter is a verbal to Rice. But anyway, that's a quick rundown of that. So.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. Two things. Two guys, they're very similar in the fact that when they were 10 and 11, and actually 9 and 10 for Matthew, both Matthew and Cole were undersized. They hadn't grown near as much as the other kids, and so early they struggled a little bit physically. But you could see that they had the ability, and when they got older, they were going to be really good players. And we used to stress that to the parents all the time: is don't worry about what they are at 10, 11, and 12. Worry about what they are when they're in high school. And I just think these two kids are great examples of that. You could see they were good athletes, they had good swings, and you knew when they physically caught up to the other kids, they were going to be really good. And so I just think for all parents, and I know it's hard because you want your kids to be successful every time, but it's not important how good they are in Little League. It's not. It's important when they get to high school and if they're fortunate enough to play after that.
Oh, that's a great point. All right, your pitchers. Kyle Richardson's going to A&M. He's a left-handed pitcher. You've also got McGregor Hines, who's also a pitcher, I believe, and then Nick Kennedy, who's got a dad that we all know about,
Right.
Dave Kennedy. He's also a left-handed pitcher. I know your son Matt pitches. There are other guys that pitch. Kind of take us through real quick before we get out of here, Dr. Bennett.
Well, Richardson will throw the first game tonight. He's a lefty it's verbal to A&M, and he's 79 to 85, somewhere in there, but his ball's got a lot of late life and a lot of sink late, and he hides the ball extremely well. So, of course, that 84, 85 looks like 90 in that case.
Deception with a heavy ball?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And he's really hard to square. So he will throw tonight, and then we'll throw McGregor the next day. McGregor is an incredible athlete, incredible pitcher, incredible competitor. He literally has a major league breaking ball. That's literal. It's not just saying stuff. The breaking ball is exceptional, and his fastball, of course, gets up to 92. I think they got him touching 93 last week, and that's pretty good, And then, of course, Kennedy hadn't really pitched for us at all. He's had surgery, but he's verbal to Texas, and left-hander that's 90, 91, 92. I mean, that's a pretty good collection of guys on the mound.
No doubt. Justin, anything to add about any of those guys?
No, I hadn't. McGregor was playing the 12 team above us when we were there, so I would see him occasionally. Nick Kennedy was after me, and Kyle. I didn't work with Kyle either, but the other two, Matthew pitches in relief a lot, and so does Walker.
Yeah.
Those are the two that I know. So.
Very good stuff. Well, it's exciting. 4 o'clock first pitch again today in Austin, Disch-Falk Field, and, man, it's going to be exciting. Hopefully they can make a run. What do you think is going to be the key? Either one. I know you've seen them a lot, Dr. Bennett. We want to have a final word on this one?
Well, the Argyle team is really good, and they're in the opposite bracket, so we have to win. Lubbock Cooper's very well coached.
Yeah.
I think they've just got to play. If we play really well, I think they've got a really good chance. But that Argyle team has 2 guys, one going to Tech, one going to TCU, left-handed, both in the low 90s and very good pitchers, and they're very well coached. So, and again, I want to thank Scott and Chris, the two main coaches there. They've done a tremendous job with these kids. This is their team.
Yeah.
They have done it, and they've owned it. And
Scott Holder can coach now.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so can Chris Litton. He's fantastic. So they've done a tremendous job with these guys, and that, again, it's their club. We're real proud of it. It's good to let them go and do that. So
that's outstanding.